Hi, I'm Kaylin, and welcome to April 17th edition of BCA Today, where we report on school, local, national, and international news. Without further ado, let's get started. Tonight, LitMag will be hosting its annual music and poetry night, where students can enjoy a fun night full of music, poetry, food, and more. Tickets purchased before the event will cost $5, while those who purchase tickets at the door will have to pay $8. The event will be held after school from 5 to 8 p.m. in the upper cafeteria, so make sure to show up and support LitMag. Longtime 24-hour Coach House, which is located just down the street from BCA on Route 4, has announced it is now permanently closed. Yesterday, locals noticed a sign taped on the door at the diner that read, "This is a notice of permanent closure. Thank you for your loyalty and support. It has meant everything to us. We've been honored to serve you, and it's been a part of our community." Last night, the New Jersey Devils announced the hiring of Sonny Mehta, a New Jersey native who will now be the team's new general manager. Mehta grew up in Wyckoff and played on the varsity ice hockey team in Ramapo High School. He had previously worked for the Devils as their director of hockey analytics, where he developed the NHL's first full analytics department. Prior to this hiring, he was previously the assistant manager of the Florida Panthers, winning the Stanley Cup in both of the past two seasons. And now to Sam for an interview with our chocolate competition winners.
Yesterday, BCA held its 27th annual chocolate competition. The event is a staple in the Culinary Academy, and this year marked the first time that only juniors competed. With the contestants being limited to only one grade instead of two, students also had to work individually. As a part of the competition, juniors had to make an at minimum 3-tiered presentation cake graded solely on its physical appearance, as well as a tasting cake graded solely on its flavor. This year's theme was Netflix, and thus contestants based their creations on popular Netflix originals. Here with us today are the competition's third and second place winners. In third place was Alyssa Kim with the Squid Games cake, and in second place was Sophie Kakuda with the To All the Boys I've Loved Before cake. Here we have Sophie and Alyssa to talk about their experience in the competition. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us, and first of all, congratulations on winning second and third. What inspired you guys to choose your particular movie and TV show for your cake?
So for me, my cake was To All the Boys I Loved Before. I'd actually read the book when I was in middle school, and when the theme was announced, I thought it would be a good time to revisit the movies and to get a sense of what I was working with. There was 3 movies, so I thought it would be perfect because there's a lot of themes and different things to work with that would make a really good cake.
For me, I think my first thought was to look at what I wanted to do with Squid Games, because they have 3 seasons, and I was like, should I focus on 1 season or 2 or 3? And I chose to do all 3, and then I looked at each of the rounds and chose most popular ones to make sure that everything's recognizable. And then I wanted to just plan out what each layer will have, because I did want to include that piggy bank on the top of my cake.
And just take us through the thought process that each of you guys went to when you were designing your presentation cake as well as testing out the flavors for your tasting cake.
So for my first cake, my first thought process was to look at what I wanted to include in my show cake, because I really wanted to include that doll and stuff. I also wanted to include my piggy bank on the top of my cake and the Taekwondo layers on the top tier, the side of it. And then for my flavors, I really wanted to add a matcha mousse and a raspberry curd, because it was honestly my favorite flavors, and I really felt that they represented the players and the guards' uniforms.
For my cake, the top tier is a hat box, because the first thing that people think of when they think To All the Boys I've Loved Before is Lara Jean's iconic teal hat box. It's tilted open because in the movie the letters are all sent out, so it shows all the letters kind of ascending out of it. And then the middle tier is 3 books stacked on top of each other because the movie was adapted from a trilogy and I wanted to reference that. And also she loves reading books. And then the third tier, I was deciding between a diner scene or the love lockets, and ultimately I went with the love lockets because they're very colorful. And my tasting cake was blackberry and chocolate and mint because it's kind of like refreshing but also fruity and went well with chocolate.
And as competitors from previous years have known, there's a tremendous amount of organization and planning that goes into the chocolate competition. So what was the timeline like for you guys from the moment you learned what the theme was to the moment that you heard the competition's results?
It's like very time consuming, so we all know that it's going to take a long time and we're going to have to dedicate a lot of time both during school and after school. So before we got like our after school hours, we were all spending our free time like planning out our tasting cakes and then our show cakes. And a lot of us honestly just put all of our like free time, even at home after homework, just designing our cakes, writing out all of our binder elements and stuff like that.
Yeah, I can say the exact same thing. But with the timing, usually it's in March, but for us it was actually in April this year. So what ended up happening was when we got back from spring break in early April, those 2 weeks were entirely chocolate comp. We had after hours from around 4 to 8, and then weekend hours from like 10 a.m. to 7, 8 o'clock at night. So yeah.
And as you guys just mentioned, chocolate competition is very time consuming and all students who are competing spend dozens of hours in the kitchen, both during school, after school, and on the weekends. So can you just talk about the importance of having this level of commitment in a competition like this?
I would say that having this level of commitment in a competition is very much like, honestly, it shows a lot of your self-perseverance and how much like you want to dedicate into your competition. Like we all wanted to like at least get our things done. I don't know how much people wanted to win at one point, but like we all just wanted to get everything done in time so we could actually focus on other things too, because people have different priorities. And some challenges that we found was honestly running out of ingredients, like the spacing issues, and like honestly just finding help in the kitchen.
And kind of going back to like commitment, I would say that the more you're committed to it, I think that will show up in your showpiece cake. A lot of details, as you can see, for honestly all of the cakes that were created, the tiny flowers, the painting, the more committed you are, the more clean it will be, and you can just see all that hard work.
And what were some of the challenges that you guys encountered while in the kitchen?
Like kind of going back, I would say that like even though culinary is small, the kitchen doesn't seem big enough sometimes because it's the juniors, which are 17 people, but each junior is making a 3-tiered cake and they're making 2 large sheet pans of cake. So like when you do the math, that really adds up. So honestly, space and kind of ingredients, like making cakes, there's so much sugar, flour needed, so sometimes that would run out.
Yeah, going back to like I think what I said earlier and what Sophie just said, like we ran out of so many ingredients. I can remember like I needed my matcha mousse by Wednesday and we didn't have any white chocolate, and then at one point I needed my buttercream but we didn't have butter. And like a spacing issue was that we do have like both sides of the room, but people were working everywhere. We had assistants working for us everywhere, so we tried to maximize space, and then we also had to put our show cakes somewhere, so like people were working on the floor at one point.
And as you guys said, culinary is a really small academy, and you guys had students from all different grades assisting you with your cake. So how did that sense of community really benefit you in chocolate competition?
We had freshmen, sophomores, and seniors helping, and I'd honestly say like they were there for support in multiple ways. They were there kind of for emotional support, but also just like physically there to like measure out ingredients, help clean up. Honestly, they helped so much with the cleanup and the large amount of stuff that we're working with, so we really could not do it without them. I think chocolate competition always makes Akaha seem like more of like a family because of all the support that they put in.
Like just to piggyback off of what Sophie said, I feel like it helps us grow like a very big sense of community as an academy, and it also shows how big of a competition chocolate comp is, because everyone puts so much work into it, regardless of whether it shows honor tasting or showcase. Like the freshmen that we had to put at the dish station so many times, the amount of times we had our mentees helping us with our tasting and showcase, it like shows a lot of how much dedication everyone puts in.
Thank you guys so much for joining us, and once again, congratulations. Now back to Kaylin for what's going on in America.
On Thursday, April 16th, Minnesota prosecutors charged an ICE agent with second-degree assault after allegedly pointing a firearm at civilians on a Minneapolis area highway during February's immigration search. Investigators say the agent was driving an unmarked vehicle on the shoulder to bypass traffic when he pulled alongside another car and allegedly aimed his weapon at its occupants, who said they did not know he was a federal officer. Authorities issued a nationwide warrant, and officials say the case raises question about accountability for federal officers during the crackdown. Earlier this week, New York City Mayor Mamdani said the ongoing Iran conflict is worsening the cost of the living crisis. Speaking of April 15th, he cited rising energy prices and supply chain issues as a key factor increasing costs for residents, especially impacting working-class families. This week, New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy and FIFA officials traded blame over train tickets expecting to exceed $100 during the 2026 World Cup. Murphy criticized the high cost, while FIFA said transportation falls under local control, raising concerns about affordability for the fans. And now back to San for an interview with Fiona Curran to speak about the Elephant Run.
On May 3rd, the second ever Elephant Run will take place in Park Ridge. The 5K will both start and end in the parking lot of the Park Ridge Pool at 123 Colony Ave, beginning at 8 a.m. Tickets are $35, with all proceeds going to the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, a cancer treatment and research center located in Boston, Massachusetts. Here with us to discuss the run is its organizer, BCA senior Fiona Curran. Fiona, thank you so much for joining us today. First of all, what was the inspiration behind the Elephant Run?
So the inspiration behind the Elephant Run is my grandparents. I lost my grandparents, Paniel and Nana Barbara, to their battles with cancer a few years ago. I lost my grandfather in the fall of last year, and after he passed away, I really wanted to do something to memorialize him and my grandma and just the legacy that they left behind and their impact on me. So I created the Elephant Run as a fundraiser in memory of them. And the elephant is actually inspired by my grandfather's love for the University of Alabama, because he never went to school there, but he really loved the school, and he would always buy me little elephant plushies and little Alabama t-shirts and things like that. And so I decided to make the logo the elephant, as it's something that really represented him in a lot of ways to me.
And as the run benefits the Jimmy Fund, you will be providing donations to the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. So can you discuss the significance behind this charity and why you chose to benefit this specifically?
Yeah, so the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute is where both of my grandparents got their treatments throughout their battles with cancer, and my family had a really positive experience with all of the doctors, the nurses, all of the staff there, and I just really wanted to give back to them and allow other families like my own to hopefully have the same amazing resources that my family did. And so it was really important for me to raise money for them, and I was very happy with how the race turned out last year, and I know that they were really grateful for all the support.
And we also have some photos from last year's event, so we're just going to play them and have you talk us through them.
Awesome. So this is our start line. We had about 250 people there last year, which was amazing. A lot of people from the local community and local track teams and things like that. This is just more pictures of the start line. We had a lot of people. This is one of the elephant plushies that I was talking about earlier, and I put him in a little shirt to make it cute. This is actually my aunt and my uncle crossing the finish line. I thought it was a great picture of them. They were super excited. So I was really grateful to have a lot of BCA students come out and volunteer. So they were great with the check-in process, handing out food and stuff like that. more people crossing the finish line. Everyone was super excited. This is me with the big check that we ended up donating to the Jimmy Fund. We raised around, I believe it got to $16,000 after the event, but it was a really exciting moment.
So you will be going to the University of Alabama this fall. How do you plan on continuing the Elephant Run while living over 1,000 miles away?
Definitely going to look a little bit different next year. It's probably going to have to be a little bit later so I can get back from school, but over the past 2 years, I've created a lot of really great relationships with the people in my town, a lot of our sponsors, people who have just helped me with various aspects of the race, and so I think next year it's going to be a lot of emailing, virtual meetings probably, and also leaning on my family here much more. My dad has been super helpful in planning the entire event, and so he's probably going to take a little bit of a bigger role next year.
And what was your favorite part about last year's Elephant Run, and what are you most excited about for this upcoming year?
So my favorite part of last year was giving a speech before the race started. It was a really powerful moment to see everyone come together and the whole race that I had worked so hard on kind of happen in one time, if that makes sense. And so giving the speech was really important to me. And then this year, I'm really excited for everyone to just see how we've grown. We have a lot of really fun stuff happening at the race this year that I think people are really gonna like. We have massages from a physical therapy center. We have a 3-time Super Bowl winning champion coming to sign autographs. So I think it's just gonna be really excited to see everyone come back and see how the race has gotten so much bigger.
And besides actually running in the 5K, what are some other ways that people can help out and contribute to the Elephant Run?
So we're always looking for volunteers. We can give out volunteer hours if people need that, or even just donating, or if you know someone who's really likes to run or just walk, sharing the information. We have Instagram, our website, if you look up Elephant Run 5K, it'll come up, and just getting the word out to as many people as possible.
And finally, what do you have to say to those who are watching who may be interested in taking part of the Elephant Run?
I would say that you definitely should come out and support. It's going to be really fun. We have a lot of great stuff. You can get some free food, and it's just a really great cause and a really great event that I would love to see a lot of the BCA community at.
Thank you, Fiona. And now back to Kaylin to finish off with world news.
The head of the International Energy Agency warned that Europe would have maybe 60 steps that the comment highlights shortages tied to global conflict and strained supply chains, as officials across Europe look for ways to stabilize fuel access and avoid major impacts on travel and trade. This week, Kanye West postponed an upcoming concert in France after local officials said he was not welcome to perform. The decision followed backlash from government leaders and public criticism ahead of the planned show, adding to a series of recent controversies surrounding the artist's international appearances. Australia recently moved to ban social media use for children under 16, but reports indicate many teens are still finding ways around the restrictions. The policy was introduced to address concerns about online safety and mental health, requiring platforms to enforce stricter age verification measures. However, experts say enforcement has been challenging as young users continue to bypass the rules by alternative accounts, VPNs, and accounts registered under older ages. The situation has raised questions about how effective the ban will be and whether additional measures will be needed. That's it for today. I'm Kaylin.
And I'm Sam. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time here on BCA Today.